This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. I am thrilled to be here helping you with playing the guitar. In this quick answer episode, I'm giving an overview of what 9th, 11th, and 13th chords are. Now, I'm not giving any voicings in this quick answer episode, but if you want to know how to play these chords, there are quick answer episodes specifically dedicated to how to play each of these on the guitar. Each of these in movable shapes so that you can move them around. Just like bar chords, though not all of them are technically bar chords, they're movable like bar chords. So if you need to know how to play the shape, just check out the quick answer video that pertains to each one of these and I will show you great ways to play them. But here in this video, I'm giving an overview so we can kind of understand it in theory. So with 9th, 11th, and 13th chords, we have the 9th, which includes the flat 9 and sharp 9. We have the 11th, also the sharp 11, the 13th, and the flat 13. Where do these 9th, 11th, and 13th come from? Well, if I use the C major scale as an example, though this would also be the case with minor scale and mixolydian scale, any of the scales, 7-note scales that are out there. If we play the scale in 2 octaves, so this is just C major scale in 2 octaves, just kind of speed it up. Each one of those steps has a number, so the root or the starting pitch is 1, and then we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The root starts again at 8 in a higher octave. Then we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 starts the root again in the higher octave. And so steps 8 through 15 is taking us through that higher octave of the scale. And that's where these numbers come from, 9, 11, and 13. They come from that higher octave. And if we stack 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, we've gone through all of those notes in thirds, which is what I have written here. Root, 3, 5, 7. Note that if we were doing a 6th instead of the 7th, which I will talk about here, that it goes instead of the 7th. So sometimes our 6 chords don't have a 7th in them. The major 6th and the minor 6 chords don't have a 7th. So that's in place of the 7th. They also only go up to the 9th when we're playing those, but I have a little note there. But when we're playing 7th chords, we can go all the way to the 13th. So 7, 9, 11, 13. Those are stacked in thirds. If we were to look on a piece of paper, if it was written out on staff, on the music staff, then this would go line, 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 just every other note, or space, 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 depending on the clef and where we start and what key we're in and so on. So root 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. To our major 7th chords, our minor 7th chords, our minor major 7th chords, our dominant 7th chords, we can throw a 9th, 11th, or 13th on. Now, I will mention a lot of times the 5th gets omitted when we start adding these upper extensions. So we might only have the root, the 3, the 7, and then we have an upper extension. And we can have more than one upper extension, but it's impossible on the guitar to actually play all of these. Whereas on the piano, we could sit down and actually play all of these at once. But on the guitar, some of these pitches are on the same string. We also only have 6 strings and we got 7 notes here. So unless you had a 7-string guitar and you found the perfect way to finger it where you could actually physically do it, probably have to use some open strings and get all of these on if it was even possible. I don't know. I've never done it, but I know we can't do it on the 6-string guitar. So let's take a look at the specific chords that we get here. So 6-9 chords, you might see 6-9 chords out there. These are major or minor chords that have the 6th and then the 9th added. So these are 6 chords with the 9th added on. So like root 3, 5, 6, 9. So a major 6-9 chord that sounds really nice. Root 3, 6, 9. There's no room to have the 5th in that particular voicing. Although I could throw it on top. Not sure if it adds to it. I kind of like it without it. The perfect 5th is interesting as it sits above the root. It's because of the overtone series. A lot of times it feels like the 5th is there even when we're not playing it. So it's the easiest one to omit. but that's a major 6/9. So like C6/9, if you saw C6/9 or B flat 6/9 or A 6/9 or F sharp 6/9, that's a major 6th chord with a 9th added on. We can also do it with a minor. So up here is an example on the board for the chord symbol F sharp minor 6/9. So if we have the major 6/9, I'll just play an F sharp major 6/9. We could also turn that into minor, flat that third, and we get a minor 6/9. Or I'll play like a minor 6/9. There's different ways that we can voice it, but we add that 9th onto the 6th. So when we see 6/9 like that, and it's usually stacked at an angle or on top of each other, 6/9, that's the type of chord we're playing. A major 6th chord or a minor 6th chord, depending on if it says it's minor or if there's nothing there, so we know it's major. I say nothing besides the root, and then 6/9, we know we're adding the 6th and the 9th. So that's how those work. Major 7th chords. Major 7th chords have the root, the 5, the major 3rd, the 5, and the major 7th. With these, we can add a natural 9, and in theory we could add the altered 9ths, but that's rare. So we're just going to look here. The major 9th with the natural 9 is what gets thrown on. With major chords, we almost always have the sharp 11 instead of the natural 11, and that's because the natural 11 conflicts with the 3rd. But if we turn it into a sharp 11, they're actually far more complementary. So we can have major 7th chords with the sharp 11. We rarely are going to see it with the 11th, though it does exist. So I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, but it's just more rare. This is by far the common place to go. Sharp 11, because it complements, sounds good with that 3rd. When we have an 11th in the chord symbol, it also implies that the 9th could be. So we could have both the 9th and the sharp 11. Then we could have a 13th. We could have the altered 13th, but it's far more common to have just the regular major 13th thrown into the chord. If the 13th's here, it also implies the sharp 11 and the 9 could be there. So when we go higher in our chord symbol, it implies that it can be there. When we see the 7, we know 1, 3, 5, 7. If we see 9, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. 11, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. And that's the case for all of the types that we have. They all imply what's less. But like I mentioned, it's not possible on the guitar to have them all. The common thing for guitar is to have sharp 11 by itself, though sometimes you might be able to have the 9th and the sharp 11th. Or the 9th and the 13th can go together a lot of times in the way things will finger. And then we'll also just have them all individually thrown on. Usually we have to omit the 5th to add one of these. So it's usually the root, the 3, the 7, and then one of these or 2 of these. That's usually how that works. So with the major 7th, C major 9, when we throw these numbers into the chord symbol, the 9 or the 13 will replace the 7, and if we're just using the 11, it can replace the 7 as well. If we're using the sharp 11, the flat 13, or one of these altered 9ths, we really need the 7 in front of it, and then we see the alteration there. And that's just to keep visually the chord symbol so it works. So when I see a C triangle 9, that means C major 9. What this means is I have a C major 7th chord. We didn't need to write 7 and 9. The 9 sitting next to that major triangle sign tells us that the 7th is also in the chord. So C major 9 would have the root 3, 5, but it's probably going to be omitted 7 and 9. Here's a great voicing. That's what a C major 9 chord sounds like. And the 5th has been omitted in that voicing. Just root 3, 7, 9. So we can have a major 7th with the sharp 11. This B flat major 7 sharp 11 sounds like this. In this particular one, I don't have a 9th on there, but you could, if you had the fingers for it, throw a 9th on there. But we can have the major 7 sharp 11. Note that in the chord symbol, we have the major 7, so it just looks like a major 7 chord and then sharp 11 sitting next to it. If it said B flat major sharp 11, that sharp against the maj could get confusing to our eyes. It just helps to have the 7 there. The major 13, F sharp capital M for our major 7th chords. And if you're not familiar with major 7th and minor 7th, all the different types of 7th chords, you should check out the quick answer video for that. This really builds on top of that. But the 13 sitting next to that tells us again that we have 13, we could have 11, 9, and then of course we have to have 7 and 3 in the root, and maybe we have 5, but usually the 13 and the 5 are on the same string. So a major 13th chord, even F sharp major 13 looks, I can get one just like so. So these are rich sounding chords. With this one I could have the 9th with it, so I mentioned that sometimes happens. So that's the major 7th chords, and they could have the alterations of the flat 9 or sharp 9 instead of the 9 or the flat 13, but it's rare. So the dominant 7th works the same way. We see C9, that chord symbol is in place of C7. So if I had a C9, now if I had the fingers for it, and I do here, I can have the 5th in the chord, or I can have the 5th omitted. But I've got that 9th on top of my dominant 7th. Dominant 7th is the major chord with a flatted 7th or a minor 7th instead of major chord with a major 7th. So C9 in place of C7. B flat 7 sharp 11. So it works the same. If I see that 7 then sharp 11, I know that I've got my major chord with the flatted 7th and the sharp 11. F sharp 13. I've got my major chord with the flatted 7th and the 13th added. Now this particular voicing also has the 9th in it. So that's kind of what those are like. With the dominants, this is a common place to get the alterations. So the flat 9, sharp 9, flat 13. So for example, if I see C7 flat 9, I'm flatting that 9th on the C7 chord instead of having a natural 9. Or I could have B flat 7 sharp 9. I could sharp the 9th instead of flatting it. Or that's B, but there's B flat. So a sharp 9 sound. I could have the flat 13. So this one's got the 9th in it. If I take the 9th out, we'll really hear that. Now, with these altered dominants, where we have these alterations, then it's important to see that you can have the sharp 5 or flat 5 can be in addition to these, or it can actually be in place. So I could have a C7 flat 9 that also had a sharp 5 or a flat 5. It's just FYI, and you would see that in the chord symbol. The sharp 9 sometimes is just a simplified way of saying we also have a sharp 5 or maybe a flat 5. So sometimes we just want the sharp 9, and sometimes we also have an altered 5th in the chord. Flat 13 is actually the same note as the sharp 5. So the voicings are kind of interchangeable, but altered dominant chords can have altered 5ths. If the 5th is altered, we try to get it into the chord. So we can have, for example, I'll just do it here on E flat. This one has a sharp 5 and a sharp 9. Or it could also be written as a sharp 9 flat 13. So you can have multiple ones that way. The flat 5 would match the pitch of the sharp 11, just FYI. But altered dominants, we run into those especially in jazz. So a minor 7th chord, we can throw the 9th on the minor 7th chord. Get a nice C minor 9. So we're going to have the symbol telling us it's minor, and then the 9th is going to be added over there telling us it's a minor 7 chord with the 9th added. We could have the B flat minor 11, minor 7th chord with the 11th added, and if you had the hands for it or the right voicing, you could have the 9th there too. The 11th could imply the 9th is there. With this one and the C minor 9 that I played this way, the 5th was omitted. I can throw it on top, but on this one with the 11th, it's really hard to have the 5th and the 11th together because they're usually almost always on the same string. F sharp minor 13, so we can get minor 13 chord. That 13th can be added to a minor chord. And so we just see the symbol telling us that it's a minor, C minus sign, or B flat lowercase m, so the lowercase m or that minus sign, and then the number 9, 11, or 13 will replace the 7 and tell us that we're playing a 7th chord, but we've also got this color in it. Now with this, you might note that in the minor chord, that 11th, we like the natural 11 instead of a sharp 11. This also works with the minor major 7ths, so I could have the minor major 7th chord with the 9th. I could have the minor major 7th chord with the 11th. And I could have the minor major 7th chord with the 13th if I actually had the fingers for it, which I don't always have that finger, but I do here. Maybe. So it is possible, a little less common though. So with these, I will say this, a lot of times it depends on the context. So for playing jazz, for example, the chord symbols might just be written at the 7th chord level or the 6th chord level. So we might see major 6 or major 6 or minor 6th. Then we might see major 7th, dominant 7th, minor 7th, minor major 7th. We might see any of those voicings, and then it's just written at that level. But as a performer, we may choose then to throw any of these colors on top. And we might be a little improvisatory about which colors we throw at which time. So we kind of have that prerogative. And usually we just write those chord symbols at the simplified level. The only time that we don't maybe do that is if that color tone, and that's what 9ths, 11ths, and 13ths are referred to as color tones that sit on top of the core notes of the chord. If they're in the melody, a lot of times they will be in the chord symbol, even if most of the other chords are just sitting there. So it's sort of interchangeable. We can add these colors on top of 7th chords, or the chord symbol may suggest it, if that makes sense. So I hope that helps. Now, I didn't throw an example up here of doing this with a fully diminished 7th chord, because that's extremely rare. And the minor 7 flat 5 chord, though, could have a 9th or an 11th, could have a flat 9 even. The sharp 9 would just match up with the flatted 3rd, so, but that could be thrown on there, perhaps, and that happens sometimes. People will throw those on those half diminished 7th chords as well. Okay, I hope that helps. As I mentioned, if you need help with individual voicings, you can check out the quick answer videos that cover individual voicings for each of these types. Have fun. We'll see you again.
If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at kristenbromley.com. Take care.